everybody, I'm Cantonese Cat. Hey everybody, Cantonese Cat here. I'm going to go through some fintech stocks. Again, I'm not going to be around for about a week and a half. I just want to talk about as much as I can, give you as much thoughts as I can. Perhaps over the next 2 weeks or so. It's going to be low volume this week and probably low volume next week anyway. But I just want to share my thoughts on a lot of the fintech stock, one of which I have the most interested in SOFI. SoFi, I've never seen. I was trying to look and see if there are any other stocks that look anything like what SoFi is doing right now. I cannot. What I mean by that is, well, I'm gonna just shut off this Hogan and all that crap here. I'm gonna show the Bollinger Band here. I've never seen anything that looks like this, where the weekly Bollinger Band is expanding to the upside and downside like this, and with such crazy impulsive price movement. I've never seen that. I was trying to look and see whether or not there are any correlates to that. For example, Nvidia was pretty bullish. Did it show anything like crazy weekly upper Bollinger and lower Bollinger expansion? No, I have not. Not even during the entire bull market. It didn't really ever do that. The biggest it did was this big trend up here with maybe a little bit of Bollinger expansion down here. But that quickly dissipated. That quickly was exhausted. Even as it was exhausting, it just kept on making these like higher highs. It just kept on going up, right? Even during this parabolic bull trend over here, it never really had this like upper and lower range of expansion. It just never did that. And also look and see like whether or not Bitcoin has done anything like that before. Also didn't really see where you had like that big expansion, maybe with the exception of maybe around here for October 2020 to like all the way to maybe like March or April 2021. You have this big giant expansion here that just kept on going up for like 6 months, right? You have this big Bollinger Band expansion, and it didn't really get exhausted until you really start to have the Bollinger Band contraction here. Like this is when it really kind of start getting a little bit exhausted, right? Looking at Bollinger Band here, but I'm like over here, same thing. I guess I've seen it at the blow off top for Bitcoin, right? It may be a little bit before blow off top Bitcoin around 2017, maybe that, but I've never really seen the Bollinger expansion like what SoFi is doing right now. Like that is just absolutely an insane look to it. I've never seen anything like that. And you also have increasing volume to kind of support this move too. Right now, I'm a little bit worried. I'm not going to lie. I'm a little bit worried that things are getting like overextended. But there's just no sign that this bull trend is wanting to stop anytime soon, because the Bollinger Band continues to expand to the upside to the downside. There's no sign for that. It looks like this thing just wants to keep like riding up the upper Bollinger Band and keep on expanding it. And to the point that it's just like, okay, how many weeks do we have basically closing outside the upper Bollinger Band on the weekly here in a row? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So far it's number 7. Even number 7 is like, I want to go higher, but I just can't get too much higher because the Bollinger Band is right there. I want to go higher. I just couldn't, right? I've never seen anything like this. Even during this big, giant upward move over here, everybody got excited about SoFi around May of 2023, when price really went from like $4.50 all the way to like maybe 11, right? Captured a lot of people's imagination. But by then when it gets up to here, you can see there's a lot of like, trend exhaustion here already. A lot of trend exhaustion. Even the Bollinger Band is like, yeah, I don't really want to expand anymore. I'm going to contract here a little bit. I've never seen anything like this. This is absolutely insane. So that gets to the point, it's like, okay, so eventually a party is going to end. Eventually you're going to have things just getting way far extended. And you're going to have right? I mean, when is that going to happen? Hard to say. Really, really hard to say. All I can say is usually bull trends don't just end with like a V shape. It just goes up and it just goes down. Like that's generally not how it works, right? You're generally going to have a little bit of sign of the trend exhaustion like you did over here, where Bollinger Band is not expanding as much anymore, starting to contract there a little bit. And that's when you're like, okay, so this trend is getting a little bit tired. Maybe I should be scared. I'm not seeing any signs for that here at all. Right. Usually when you're looking at some trend that's a little bit topping, you're usually able to kind of see like this big trend over here. When it gets to around here, you can see the Bollinger Band starting to kind of roll over here a little bit. You're like, okay, so maybe a little bit of correction is coming, right? It's probably going to retrace back to the mean. That's exactly kind of what it tried to do over here, but it didn't really quite touch the mean here at the 20-week moving average. It just kind of want to keep going up higher, right? I'm not even seeing anything like this. Usually you have a little bit of an exhaustive kind of look to it before it does this, downtrend. Even if it's downtrend, if you're talking about the trend being so strong that you're probably going to end up making a little bit of a higher high anyway after your initial correction. So this is how strong of a trend that I'm seeing right now with SOFI. Like, I really don't know when it's going to stop. Now, let's talk about different levels here. We'll take this off. Take the Bollinger Band off here. I'm going to do the volume shelf here. And I'm also going to do the Gann square here. Now, what you're going to see here is, if you look at the volume shelf over here, we are at kind of like near the top of volume shelf, right? We might have a little bit higher to go, maybe around like 16.4 or something like that. That's probably going to be resistance, because beyond that, above that, there's really not much volume up here, right? And price have kind of traded around 15, 16 here for quite some time. You can see that there's a lot of stocks being exchanged around here, around 15 to 16. So I think that there's a little bit of friction here around this zone that probably serve a little bit as resistance. If we're able to break through this, well, let's look at the Gann here too, right? What do? This is actually a very, very good Gann that has provided very, very good market symmetry. We just found between the arc here, found support here at an angle. It's just been oscillating between this arc and horizontal line, like between these two arcs here. Went lower around along this arc over here. Eventually is able to push from the arc back about the angle, and then just bounce, push through this arc number 1, and then push through this arc number 2. And the reason why we were able to have this move up there and launch up there is because the seller volume has been exhausted for about year and a half. And all you need is just a little bit of bullish momentum here, a little bit of bullish volume, which is exactly what happened. A little bit of bullish volume came here. The price just shot up a lot higher, right? Now we're here at the top of the second, or the third arc up here, right? 1, 2, 3. Now we're at the top of the third arc over here. Is it possible? Is it possible this arc is going to be support now instead of resistance? Yes. You also push through about this angle here too, right? Initially over here this week, it was serving as resistance. Here, this arc over here is serving as support, right? Are we at the point that we've really flipped all of these kind of potential resistance levels and flipped them into support, and that we could end up going higher? It's possible, but let's play the devil's advocate. What if this is really, really a very, very toppy thing, and you end up just having to kind of go sideways from here to correct this big giant move up here, which I think is time due. I just don't know when. And if this happens to it after we already broke out arc number 1 and 2, and we want to hang out around here at the top of the arc, and maybe even on top of the angle over here, maybe build up a little bit of an ascending triangle before pushing up higher to the next arc, and then that's when the trend really, really, really starts to get exhausted. That's entirely possible. The other thought would be this. Instead of worrying about this horizontal line up here, instead of worrying about the fact they just broke 2 arcs in a row that needs to cool off, what if it breaks the horizontal up here? The Bollinger Band certainly seems like it's so impulsive that it could do that. It could also hang out around here above the horizontal line, around about 16.3, 16.4, and it's just kind of also around here, cool down, maybe even back test down here, wick down here, and then push up a lot higher, and then that would be like very, very much of a trend exhaustion. That would be another thought. It's very, very tough. Like, this charts like this is very, very tough, because I cannot call a top on this. There's not really any indicators that's really going to be able to tell me this is the top. Because all SOFI did was, you had a wave 1 over here, and you have a really, really prolonged wave 2 that built up a lot of energy for wave 3. And a lot of energy is being released right now. It bounced on 0.236 Fibonacci level. This is a log Fibonacci level, 0.236, and it bounced a lot higher. Where is it going to naturally find resistance? If it's able to break about the 0.618 with ease, then the next big resistance level is probably going to be 0.786. I suspect you're probably going to end up running into some snag here, maybe even spend a few weeks here on sideways here, maybe even come back to some of the lower levels and try to find support before pushing through, because I think that 0.786 is probably going to be a strong resistance level. After you pass the 0.786, then you're talking about hitting this arc up here, which is going to be 0.886, right? $22.76. Down here is going to be $19. So I think anywhere from like 16 to 19, there could be some strong resistance zone over here, because you also had a lot of history over here too. I think it's probably going to be strong resistance here. But if it pushes through the 0.786, then you're talking about some really crazy stuff, right? I just don't know if we have the trend energy to do that. Apparently it does, but it really, really looks like it's overextended. I don't know how else to say this, but things can stay overextended for a very long time. I'll show you what I mean by bouncing from the 0.236 and then potentially go even a lot higher. Because what did that recently? What did that last year? Nvidia did that last year, right? What did Nvidia do? Well, Nvidia came down, have wave one bounce at 0.236 exactly, right? 0.236, where did it go? Went all the way up here. Where did it find some resistance at for a few weeks? 0.76, right? Found some resistance here for a few weeks, and then just pushed through that. And next thing you know, it makes all-time high. Then it gets stalled around the 1.236, right? I suppose I can see SOFI doing something like that, but it would just be absolutely insane. You're talking about like hanging around like $19 for a few weeks, and it just pushed to like $40. Like that makes no sense to me. But I see that potentially being a fractal, and also the fact that it's kind of spent a long time here on wave two. This wave three is extremely powerful, and it could push through multiple arcs and get up there. I'm not saying that it couldn't, right? All I'm saying is what is the most logical thing for it to do would be to cool down around 0.786, backtest here, maybe even last longer than a lot of people would imagine, for like maybe 6 months or something like that. Although this is wave three, I don't want to count against that. It might just kind of hang around here for a few weeks and just shoots up, right? What I'm trying to say is that this is a bull trend, and this is probably the most bullish part of the entire bull trend. And I'm not gonna get in the way of it. That's what I'm trying to say. Would I want to buy something like this? Probably not. That's the reason why I've been buying all the way down here, right? That's the reason why I've been saying, hey, less than $8 is a good buy. Less than $8 is a good buy. Because when you have something like this, I don't even know where to buy. I don't even know where to sell. I'm just not going to touch it. Like, I'm going to leave it alone. There's no reason for me to come off the train. There's no reason for me to get in right now. I can totally see this being a confluent zone over here at the arc and angle around $15. I can totally see it maybe hitting around 18 and just have like a brutal wick down to 15, grab additional liquidity, kind of like it did over here, right? When you hit like the $10 or $11 zone, I thought it was going to come back down. There's an open gap right here. It never closed. It just kept going higher. There's a possibility where it got up to like 0.76. Somebody had like, some really scary news or some very scary event, came back down, test this confluent zone over here, and just kept going higher. I can totally see that happening too. I don't know. All I know is I'm not messing with this stock. I'm going to stay in it. I'm going to let it do its thing. If you ask me whether or not to chase this right now, I would not. If you ever ask me if I should sell this right now, heck no. that's all I know, because I already show you like what stocks like this could potentially do, with an example being Nvidia, right? On the monthly too, if I get rid of all this drawing over here, on the monthly, I can also show you how overextended it is away from the upper Bollinger Band. The upper Bollinger Band, the monthly right now is 12.68. Right now, price is 15.49. I think it's probably end up closing a month right around here. And next month, the Bollinger Band end up going higher. When you have something like this, it's overextended, but it's not necessarily anything to get completely scared about. And RSI did get up to like 67, which is like no big deal, right? I mean, like I can see Nvidia can get up to like 70s and 80s for like months and months, even 2 or 3 years at a time. So this is actually not anything that's entirely scary for me on the monthly. It's just a weekly. I've never seen anything like that. But I think it could have further bullish continuation, because the Bollinger Band on the monthly just started to expand, which is something that's absolutely insane for me to say. I think this thing's probably going to want to keep going up a lot higher. And also the Tenkan over here is also pushing price up a lot higher too. So I'm not getting in the way of this thing. I'm just going to let it do its thing. This is probably my biggest fintech stock exposure that I have, and I see great things with it. If I have to do a longer term gain, and again, this is based on a weekly here, and I'm going to get rid of these fit levels first. Actually, no, I'm going to keep them. I'm going to get rid of the GAN here. I'm going to do a longer term GAN. What I mean by longer term is you can really do these longer term GAN. I'm going to pause the video. I'm just going to make it. Okay, so what I did is I did 1440 as the duration. I did 0.1 for the ratio, and actually gives me some pretty good market symmetry here as well. You can see how I kind of got rejected here, and on top of the arc over here, came back down, back test the angle over here, was able to push through the arc, and the next arc is going to be naturally around up here around 17 to $20 somewhere around here, which is right around where the 0.76 is going to be. Entirely possible for this long-term GAN to kind of push it inside this arc over here, maybe spend some weeks inside before potentially pushing up to the next arc, or it could last a lot longer and just get stuck here on this arc, right? But if you're looking at this, it basically just pushed through one arc, it could push through another, and then push through to the third arc up here, and that could be the cycle ender, maybe somewhere around 40 to 44. Or maybe that's like the end of wave 3, assuming this is wave 1, prolonged to wave 3, get up to here around the arc over here around the 40s, and then correct here for a little bit longer, and then have wave 5, and things just have like another like prolonged ABC before first bullish continuation. Now, if that's the case, if we're able to shoot up to like 40 something, which again I think is absolutely insane, but I cannot say that I cannot do that, because right now, if you look at the scan, the next natural level is going to be 0.786. If you're able to push through 0.786, you're talking about some all-time high stuff, which is going to be up here, right? It could take years to get there. It could take the next 3 to 5 years. There's entirely possibility, and I made this video before, there's entirely a possibility where SOFI can potentially make something ridiculous, like this is wave 1 over here, right? And this is wave 2 over here. Wave 3 is the most strongest and the most powerful. Let's say, assuming that I'm like completely crazy and I don't know anything, assuming I'm completely crazy and wave 3 just goes berserk, breaks this arc up here, which is entirely possible. If it doesn't, then you're gonna end up maybe ending the cycle up here in this arc, right? But it breaks through the arc up here, presumably, and it doesn't have to do it right away. It can end up just taking its time through 2025, 2026. Let's say it gets there early 2026, right? Gets to this arc over here, or wakes up above, right? Come back down here, back test the arc over here, or previous all-time high. Let's say it goes to this arc over here, right? Wave 4 is going to be shorter because wave 2 is so long. Definitely wave 4 is probably going to be a shorter wave. And then you end up getting up to this arc over here, which is going to be around like a 60 or 70 SOFI. Potentially by the end of the decade. I'm never going to be that deterministic. Let's say if it ends up over here. Let's say wave 3 takes a lot longer than most people think, because we just can't correct sideways for so long. Let's say wave 3 gets to 1.236, and then wave 5 gets up here to this arc. That's a potential $60 to $70 SOFI before the end of 2030. And based on the growth rate, based on the exponential user growth, based on their earnings, it's possible. It's just entirely possible. You're also talking about a few years of growth here. You're also talking about a company that has survived like banks failing, have survived all kinds of recession narratives, has survived the worst inflation ever, has survived like the quickest rate hikes ever, and arguably has already survived the 2022 recession that they didn't call, right? So actually a pretty decent position to actually potentially meet some of my targets up here, which is completely logical targets, by the way. Some people would even say like 1.618 is possible, although these are log fibs. It's a little bit too exponential for some, but it's been going exponential, so I'm just going to use log fibs. When it went down exponentially. When it goes up, it could also go up exponentially too. None of these are deterministic. I just want to kind of share you my thoughts in terms of what I think about SOFI. I'm not going to be that crazy. Let's say it hits 1.414 and we end wave 5 right here by the end of 2030, which I think is probably the most logical thing. It could go lower. It could go a lot lower, right? I mean, wave 3 could end up here, and we could end up going a lot lower. And then maybe we even hit like, 0.886. We didn't even make all-time high here, and that's the end of the cycle, and make an ABC, and then you go higher. It's entirely possible too. But based on what I'm seeing, based on how crazy SOFI is doing right now, which I've never seen anything like this before, based on the bullish band expansion, I think this thing has some runway, guys. I think this thing has some runway to keep going up. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'm just happy that I have a low cost average. And if it keeps on going up, I'm just going to let it do its thing. Like, I never want to bet against anything like this. Anyway, been 20 minutes talking about SoFi exclusively, which is something that I feel pretty passionate about. I'm going to leave it as that, okay? Take care, bye.